evening, everybody, and welcome to Talk Football. You're on the Transfer Roundup show with Dan and Jesse. And how are you, Jesse, mate?
Good, always good. You know me.
Very good, fantastic. Thank you, everyone who's watching, everyone who's joined us today. So, what we got up on the show? Well, we're going to be discussing the top six's current transfer situation that's going on, some of the deals that have been done, some that are going close, and some of them are even potentially off the table when we thought that they may well be done and dusted. So, with that, we'll get started and we'll jump straight into it. At the top of the shop, we'll start with Arsenal, who have done some great business, Jesse. Do you not think, mate? Who have they brought in?
Yeah, so far they've obviously brought in Marquinhos from Brazil, good, promising young player. I imagine that he's going to be not starting. If this were United, and I think Arsenal will act very much the same. He's going to go straight into the under-23s, probably trained with the first team, but playing the under-23s. He's only 18 years old. And then the big one coming out is Fabio Vieira, who to me looks like a promising playmaker. He can drop deep. He's a little bit of a more creative Odegaard, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think
that's more creative.
Yeah, I do think he's more creative. Well, okay, so it depends, like, not on numbers. I just think in the way that he plays. He plays a little bit more like Bruno, where he takes a bit more of a risk.
Yes.
In that role. So I think that we'll see him come in as competition for Odegaard. Yeah, like I said, he can kind of drop deep, and yeah, he's in that mold. I think he's competition for Odegaard, though.
Well, that's really good, actually, you saying that, because on our show, we've talked about Martin Odegaard, and Odegaard's a fantastic player. He really, really is. And you talk about chances created, Odegaard was well up there with those players, but it was about the quality of those chances. A number of the chances were created were very low quality shots off target or, from distance, which, 9 times out of 10, they're never going to go in. But having someone potentially like Fabio Vieira, who may well take more risks, which is fantastic, because if they're willing to take those risks is what creates goals at the end of the day. Trent Alexander-Arnold's cross completion is actually very, very low because he takes risks all the time. And ultimately, after a while, if you spam enough crosses in, someone's going to get on the end of it, and it could be a goal. So I think that may be what they need, and they're definitely, bulking up in that situation. It's another young player, because he's only 20, I believe.
Yeah, he's very young, and if you kind of just going back to that, if you do look at the profile of player, Odegaard does have a lot of chances created, but a lot of those chances are not what is it called? Big chances created.
Yes.
And I think a lot of that has to do with him playing, safe pass to edge of the box where someone gets a shot off, or the pass before the pass. I think that if Arteta wants someone to come in and be playing those killer balls, those Hollywood balls, he might just turn out to be a really good player. But from Porto, a lot of Portuguese players recently have come in and done very well, but he is going to be a risk. But as competition, I think that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. And the price is a good price as well. 34 million. It's not a ridiculous sum of money anymore in respect of Premier League signings. And ultimately, I think he's a low risk sort of investment. They're still going to need to bring a striker in, though, which kind of brings us in perfectly to the situation that's still ongoing, which is Gabriel Jesus. We talked about him last week. Deal's still not done, which is surprising, as he's a player who is not in the plans anymore at Manchester City. So you'd think now, get a deal done. Haaland's here. Alvarez is here. Sterling looks like he could be on the way out when we discuss that. Get the deal done, but still the situation's rumbling on. And according to Fabrizio Romano, the talks are at a very advanced stage. Read into that what you will, but there's still no money on the table. So what do you think? It's great bringing in these players who can create chances, but they're going to really need to get someone who gets on the end of it. And Eddie and Nketiah are taking the 14 shirt, Thierry Henry's shirt. I don't think he's going to score enough goals to be someone they can rely on.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. And there was a lot of talk from the Arsenal fan base when they did sign up Nketiah to that contract that they're okay with it as long as he's third choice. He's not going to be third choice. He's going to be second choice. So that's already enough of an issue. I know he had a decent ending to the season.
Yeah, he did.
Getting in Gabriel Jesus is important. They really need to get him in. Talks are advanced, I'm sure, as Fabrizio said, as everyone else has been saying, but they're definitely holding off to see if they can get an extra 10 million out of Arsenal or Chelsea or whoever may come in. So yes, I think at this point in time, he's pretty much certain to go there. But Chelsea still need, depending on how many they can offload, they still need 2 or 3 forwards. They really do. They need defenders and they need forwards. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. I don't see City just accepting any fee at their own expense until they drum up enough interest. If this makes it till, let's just say, July 7th or something, and there's no sale on the table, they'll move them on, I'm sure. So
I think that's also interesting, because do you think it has anything to do with them selling to potentially direct rivals? Read into that what you will. Is that because they're trying to be the 2 clubs who are generally interested in Jesus are Arsenal and Chelsea, 2 teams that they'll have to play at least twice in a season. Would you say potentially that could be lying into the idea about holding the prices high? Because for City, money's not an object.
I think money is an object, though. I think with their plans this summer, I think money is going to be an object. They do make a lot of money. I think they make around 250 million from their commercial sponsors every year. They are going to need to bring in some money because Holland's more expensive than they're reporting. We all know that.
Yes.
Though it is a great deal, just off the cuff, the 65 million pounds or whatever. That's great. Cucurella is going to cost them anywhere from 40 to 50 million. Calvin Phillips is going to cost them anywhere from 40 to 50 million. That's a lot of money. And they already bought Alvarez, and Alvarez definitely came out of this summer's transfer budget. So just because they bought him during January doesn't mean that that's not money that's coming from this budget. Also because FFP determines where the budget comes from in their case, because obviously they can spend as much money as they want if it weren't for that. So they are confined by that. No, I think that they will want to get as much money for their players as they possibly can.
100%. No, absolutely. So yeah, with Arsenal, that's the biggest news is for them. There's still the Tielemans situation, which is still there. It's still on the back burner as it stands, and they're still very interested. I believe that the deal still gets done, but the biggest issue at the moment is that sort of has cooled a little bit. Only just a touch, kind of. That he's no longer as much of a priority. I think he's still a priority, but right now the priority for Arsenal is a striker for me. I think they need more attacking options. It's great having numerous players, who can create chances, but they've got no one of good quality up front to finish chances. Then it's all going to be for nothing. Those chances will just be chance creation.
Tell me what you think about this, because I kind of view it the same way I view a lot of transfers that happen this way. Lots of interest. Lots of agreements and talks and every negotiations ongoing, and then everything kind of cools off. Does it not remind you a little bit? And I know the situation is different in a lot of ways, just because of the profile player and the profiles of the clubs. But Liverpool and Manchester United both going in for Nunez. Does it not remind you a little bit of that, where it's like United basically have everything structured with the player and the agents, and then for the most part, the fee with the clubs kind of depends on if anyone else comes in, but everything's set. Don't you see a little bit of that in this Gabriel Jesus deal? Just a little.
Definitely. And I think this is where Jesus is, and his agent and his team working around him are working very cleverly, that they know there's certain offers on the table as it stands now. Arsenal's offer will be on the table. I'm sure they probably would be quite happy with that offer. I'm sure there's interest in Tottenham. I'm sure there's interest from a number of other clubs. I think we need to also remember there's still 76 days of the transfer window remaining. There's no requirement for a deal to be done this week, next week, or the next month, in all fairness. It'll be more down to the clubs having to react to situations. And I think that, as you say there, Jesse, I think the camp for Gabriel Jesus is actually just sitting, waiting and saying, let's see what else happens. Because Arsenal is a big proposition for Gabriel Jesus, don't get me wrong. However, no Champions League football, it hurts. Don't let yourself believe it isn't. It does. Champions League, when it comes to buying players, is enormous. It's that little token, especially when your competition doesn't have that to offer. It's the biggest stage and the biggest players want to be there. So I agree with you, Jesse, 100%. I think they're just waiting, going, yeah, let's see how the situations develop, over time. So with that, I think it's a good opportunity for us to talk about another club who are interested in Gabriel Jesus, and that's Chelsea. Now, last week, we had nothing to really report on Chelsea because they haven't done any business. And the biggest news is actually an outgoing at Chelsea. Romelu Lukaku. He's gone to Inter Milan, €8 million. Probably going to go down as the worst piece of business in entire history of Premier League football. A player purchased for £100 million, now leaving the club one season later to the same club that they bought him from for €8 million. Inter Milan, it's a no-brainer, isn't it, Jesse? Do you not think, for a player who did so well for them? But are you shocked that they haven't given Romelu a bit more of a chance?
No, I'm not shocked that they haven't given him more of a chance. I think that the club made it pretty clear, and I think Tuchel made it incredibly clear that he was willing to take the player because it was a club signing. What are you going to say to Marina and Abramovich? No, sir, Russian gangster. I don't want to take your £100 million graciously and without kicking up too much of a fuss. But it became pretty clear within 4 or 5 months that he just didn't fit the system of what Tuchel wanted to play. So am I surprised that it didn't work out? And am I surprised they're moving him on? No. The only thing I would say is he is the worst transfer at this moment in time in Premier League history, but that's only if they don't get their money back. I think you do have to kind of take that into account. What is it? It's $8 million loan fee with, I think, $2 million potential add-ons if he hits certain goals, but no buyout fee or anything. So he's got to perform.
No option, no compulsory.
So he's got to perform, and they've got to want to buy him. And Inter are still in a pretty precarious position.
Yeah,
they're getting Dybala, and they already have Lautaro Martinez. Do they really need Lukaku? Would be my first question. Second point, which I've made on previous streams, in these chats, the Inter fans will have to warm up to him pretty quickly because they already don't like him. They felt really, really hard done by when he left in the way that he did. And in the manner that he did. Also, whilst losing Conte, it will be interesting. But I think we just need to wait and see on whether or not he's the worst Premier League transfer of all time. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'll just use United as an example. Di Maria, terrible transfer for a lot of different reasons, off the field stuff and all that. But at the end of the day, we got our money back right away. I kind of want to just reserve judgment just to see if that happens with Lukaku after one season going back to Milan. So
no, 100%, and it was interesting. I listened to a radio show which mentioned about the Inter Ultras. They actually had released a sort of statement. That's how important it is over there. They said that they will welcome him back as a fan. They won't boo him as he's an Inter player. However, they've encouraged fans not to attend the airport, which is quite customarily in Italian football, to go with banners and scarves, and to welcome the player into the club. That he's not. They've discouraged, their words, to not do that, and that is probably as damning as it probably gets from ultras to say that, if you want our love, you're gonna have to earn it, and he will have to earn it at the end of the day. Great. I think it's a great piece of business for Inter. It's a no-brainer. He performed so well there the season before. He worked so well with Lautaro Martinez and the two up front. I think this is a great piece of business for Inter, especially on the basis that they have a choice if they want to sign him. They don't have to. If it doesn't work out, they don't have to sign him. It's an £8 million loan. It's purchasing a player who's a youth prospect, who is Romelu Lukaku. And I think it's good business for them. Chelsea as well. As much as it's bad business initially and the overall, it's good business that they've kind of got that off the chest. They've got that out of the workload and said, right, the Lukaku situation's dealt with now, and this is where it's still important, is defence. We'll go on to who they're looking at signing in a second, but the biggest piece of news today is Todd Bowley, who is not only appointed as the CEO and the owner of the club, he's also today appointed himself as the sporting director of Chelsea, which, according to Simon Jordan, who is the ex-Crystal Palace owner, he's given his point of view and saying it's actually a good choice from Todd Bowley to give him an idea of what is actually required and entailed in that role, and which will give him a good idea of who he needs to recruit going forward in the future. So I'll take that. I know nothing about, obviously, what that job really entails. So Jesse, what do you think of that? Do you think that that's the right thing to do, or do you think they should have gone in with maybe trying to get like a Luis Campos, a Michael Edwards, a somebody in straight away, who's proven track record?
I think it's a really interesting one because obviously this comes from Bruce Buck stepping down. The changes, the structural changes at Chelsea are things that everyone knew would happen. I think that most Chelsea fans, as well as the rest of us, thought that it would happen kind of over the next year, not necessarily this summer. I imagine this is a conscious decision that, I mean, and you were the one who told me that Bully is going to go ahead and take over that position and just kind of observe. I don't think he's going to do much work. I think he's just kind of going to drop down to that position in like an honorary sense, just to observe and just to get kind of the vibe and how these things work. Because he's never had a football team before, or a football team, world football team before. So I think he will want to know how the person who works directly underneath him, what their work environment looks like, what their day-to-day looks like. So that's very interesting. Should they have gone for Campos or Paul Mitchell or someone, Michael Edwards or someone like that of that sort? Yes, but I understand why they didn't do it yet. I think that they're going to take their time to do their due diligence. I think that's exactly what Chelsea fans were expecting. Not Bully to drop down, not Buck to leave now and Bully to come in, but Buck to step down in a year and then to bring in that person, that next person. So I think it'll be very interesting. If that's what Bully's doing, I think it's very smart. I think it's very, very smart. Yeah. And he still has the people around him. I mean, I think Czech is still there. Yeah, Marina is
still there for now.
So I think he still has a supporting cast to do the job in a way. And also Buck, I think this is what some of the Chelsea fans online were saying. Buck has stepped down but gone into kind of the Ralph Rangnick supposed role where he will just be on the sidelines consulting for a while. So maybe it's not so necessary, that position.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's it. It's a good idea for me. I think it's a good idea for Todd Boehly. And this, again, is the way that kind of me and you and Jesse have kind of viewed it as fans of clubs who aren't Chelsea. We believe there was going to be some big changes going on at the club. And so far, we're being proven correct. There is a big change in the way things are being done there now. Todd Boehly was never going to come in and give a blank checkbook and just go, yep, there's £200 million of my money. Go and buy who you want. I think he wants to really be quite involved in these situations. We will have to wait and see as to how this develops over time. This is a good move because at least he's taken that sort of, I need to know what your job is so I can get the right people to do this job. He's not become a billionaire just because he inherited it. He's worked himself to where he is. He knows what he's doing. He's run multiple sports franchises and owns multiple sports franchises. So this is a new one to his bow, and he wants to become an expert in this sport. So I think this is great. So talking of experts in the sport, Chelsea are linked to a player with more kind of solid links than we've had for last week, which is Raheem Sterling from Manchester City. Quoted fee that Chelsea are looking at is around £35 million, which is very cheap, in my opinion. Man City, however, are believed to value the player at around 50, which actually for me makes a lot more sense because he's 27 years of age, he's English, Premier League proven, and he has a lot to prove. He has a lot to prove as a player. So Raheem Sterling going to Chelsea, Jesse, what do you reckon?
First off, like you say, Chelsea are lowballing that. That's way below what he's going to go for. Being English alone is worth 10 million, and he's probably a 40 million pound player. So I mean, 50 is what City will definitely want, if not 55, 60. I don't understand it. I mean, I know they need attackers, but what is that? That's if anything, that's a Werner replacement. They're almost identical players in a lot of ways. They can play the same basic style of football. Up and down the wing, pace and behind, not great at finishing, but do have a good work rate. I don't really understand it at all, but Godspeed. I hope Chelsea get him, and I hope they get him for 55 million.
But yeah, definitely 55 million, maybe 80 to be honest would be.
Hey, why not? 120.
Yeah, they've got the cash, haven't they? At the end of the day, so why not?
They got
why not? They got loads of money.
Yeah.
That's it. Got a war chest. We love that words. But Gabriel Jesus is also linked with them as well, which we discussed anyway. He makes sense to a lot of Premier League clubs. He's a player who's a very good, high quality, Premier League proven. However, the one thing that I would like to have seen, and this would be Sterling, Jesus, and Christian Pulisic all playing up front next season for Chelsea. I'd love to see a game which has 11 expected goals on the XG, and of which it ends 1-1. Because those three players, unfortunately, are players well proven who can't finish the chances. But there we are. That is the way that could well end up. So I have to see as to how that moves forward. But the side of it that I don't know what you think as to whether or not this is concerning you, because it's concerning me a little bit. Not as in, oh, this is worrying, but more of a have they got something in the works? Defenders. Jules Koundé looks like he's going to Barca. That was done in what I was told, and now he ain't coming, and there's nobody else currently in defence of the link with.
Yeah, it's looking more and more like that. From today, Barca reports coming out that it looks like Sevilla and Barca are closing in on a fee. Barca clearly want him at this point. Chelsea, there was something coming out of Koundé's camp. This was, I think, 3 or 4 days ago, that Koundé and his camp weren't happy with how slowly Chelsea were moving on that deal. And that's someone that I think Tuchel specifically wanted. I'm interested to see, but the fact is they need 3 defenders. I don't know where they're going to get them from. Sarr's not good enough. Chalobah's not good enough. Who else do they have?
Thiago Silva won't be able to play all season.
Yeah, he won't be able to play all season. Christensen gone.
Reece James ain't going to be able to play all season.
Reece James, and he can't really play. He can play maybe on the right side of a back 3. I'm just trying to think of what they even do at center back. Forget wing back.
I know, but I'm just saying Reece James has played that back, the third side of the back foot. But as you say, that's not his best position. And ultimately, the clutching at straws at the moment. And we've mentioned this a few times on this channel. There's not a lot out there. There really isn't a lot of options.
No, they're going to have to end up panic buying someone like Koulibaly or someone if they want quality, but I wouldn't even go for quality at this point. I would just cut my losses and get in personnel. I wouldn't go because Napoli will set Koulibaly's price at 60 million euros, and then Napoli CEO is a little piece of shit. He plays hardball, especially when he knows that you have money. So you're not going to get him out of them for less than 60 million pounds. So I wouldn't even bother with that. He's basically the same profile as Thiago Silva with an even worse injury record. So.
Yeah. Well, Napoli, as you say, Napoli are notoriously difficult to do business with, and Liverpool have never done business with Napoli. We just haven't. I don't think many Premier League clubs have actually done business with Napoli successfully. It's not a club that you can get players out of. Their owner is, as you say, he's a hard ass, basically. He's genuinely
old school Italian. Mafiosa looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe there's a story when the players lost a match and they all had to come in the next day and play for free. There was wages were capped. He was really, as you say, full authoritarian situation. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm not concerned about attackers so much at Chelsea. I know Lukaku's gone, but technically they still have enough players to do a job. They've still got players like Pulisic. Yeah, I mean, misses his chances. He's got injuries available. Timo Werner works hard, misses his chances, but he will score some goals. They've got players like Hakim Ziyech, who hasn't worked out. But really, the real hole in Chelsea is that defence. So I'm still waiting for the next bit of news about who they're going to bring defensively, because that is the biggest part of their puzzle that's missing. So we've covered Manchester City situation with Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling already. Not a lot all going on there, except for the much stronger interest in Marc Cucurella. No deal put in place yet, no price put on yet. Because Bissouma's already gone from Brighton, I think you're correct in what you said, Jesse, last week, that their price that they're going to put him at is going to be high. They want around 35 million. I think you're dreaming. I think he's going to be much more like 40 to 45, even close to 50. Because Brighton, everyone's for sale. However, when you sold one, the next one becomes more expensive. And then if they sell him, the next one will be more expensive, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, what do you think? Mark Cucurella, he's going to come in and he's going to play. He's left back, isn't he?
Yeah, Cucurella is
So
left back.
he's a very expensive backup to João Cancelo, do you not think?
I don't think that's what happens. I think that for a lot of games, you see Cucurella come in as a starting left back. Obviously, he'll be bedded in for a little while because that's what Pep does. All great managers do that. I think you see Cancelo on the right, Cucurella on the left, and then Walker comes in more defensive systems. Walker is not a Pep Guardiola player. I don't care how much people say this. Like he is not Pep Guardiola's ideal defender on that side. What he is great for. I think what happened was Pep came in, realized that he needs more physicality and pace than he needed in any other league, which is why he brought him in. But I think that you'll see Cucurella by December, maybe January, February, because of the World Cup, playing a lot, starting on the left side.
Okay.
With Zinchenko, if he doesn't go, as a backup there. And then obviously Cancelo and Walker. And then if one of them goes, then Cancelo can obviously swap over. But he's a massive upgrade on what they have right now.
He is
absolutely left back. Cancelo's right-footed. If you watch the way,
he's so much better at left back, though, isn't he?
No,
right back Cancelo is horrendous.
No, he's very good. I completely disagree with that.
But you need go and have a look at some of the disaster classes that he put on at right back.
I'm not even talking about defensively. I'm talking about attacking. Like watch him for Portugal. Watch him in some of his games for City. The way that Cancelo plays, he pulls it off because he is so good with his right foot. But the way he plays on the left, you know when you're playing that ball in behind down the line, he always has to play it with the outside of his right foot. He never plays with his left foot. He doesn't belong there. If he was good enough to play on the left side full time, he would be able to play that ball with his left foot, and he should be able to because he's such a good player. Honestly, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it at all. Also, I just wanted to bring this up because we're talking about fees. Brighton have 4 sellable assets. One of them's already gone. They have Trossard, Cucurella, Bissouma, and Dunk. And Dunk's not going anywhere. He's their captain. Obviously, Bissouma's gone. So they have 2 more sellable assets. And Brighton just lost their director of football. I don't know what their plans are really for the summer. I haven't really looked into it. They can't really afford to be losing players. So that's why I was obviously when it comes to upping up the amount that they're going to ask for the fee. I think it's going to be closer to 50-55 million.
Yeah, I think it's going to be high. We'll have to wait and see. I'll be interested to see Cancelo on the right-hand side because every time I watched him play on the right against Liverpool, he seemed to have a bad time. So I'll be interested to see.
To be fair, he played so much on the left-hand side this season.
Yeah, he did.
It's kind of I'm kind of jaded, but I watch Cancelo for Portugal. I watch him. Obviously, he wasn't playing there for City in the Champions League final, but every time I see him on the right, he looks, if not good, if he doesn't look world class, he looks good. So now I think we're seeing 2 different things, but yeah.
Well, we'll wait and see. Definitely, we'll wait and see on that one. So yeah, one player who is potentially going out of Man City, though, is, as you just mentioned, is Alexander Zinchenko. Everton are interested. I think a lot of clubs in the Premier League would be interested in him, and I think it would make sense for him to stay up in the Northwest for his family, from where he lives now. I think for any club other than City and probably Liverpool, he probably ends up becoming a first starting player, to be honest. And at Everton, he's a very malleable player. He's going to go for a price which is probably affordable within their FFP. Because they've got to sell a few players as well over at Everton. He can play midfield, which is what he does for Ukraine. But he can also play at left back. He's a very flexible player. So I think seeing him go, I think it would be the right thing to do. I think it's almost obvious that he's leaving because Cucurella is being targeted. And yeah, I think that'll be a good option for him to go to another club like that one, Jesse. So just moving forward, going on to your club, Manchester United. Nothing much to report as in incomings. There's been there's tickling news of De Jong. Still waiting on another offer to go in. Apparently that bid's being put in soon, if not already in. First bid of 60 million euros plus 10 million in add-ons was rejected. According to reports in Diario AS, one of the Spanish publications have said that they expected Barca to accept this offer, which isn't unreasonable because it's a good offer for a player in his position and in their situation, with nobody else looking in to buy him at the moment. So, going from there, De Jong, do you still see this? Has this situation developed positively for you, or has it not really moved at all, Jesse?
I think it's just a stalemate. I think United put in an unofficial bid of 70 million euros plus 10 million in guaranteed add-ons. I think that they're waiting on just seeing. They're playing a game of chicken, aren't they? There is a deadline for Barca if they want to take the money that they're going to gain from offloading De Jong's salary, as well as the actual agreement, the actual fee for the transfer.
Yeah,
they can only put a certain percentage of both the money they save in wages as well as the transfer fee into this upcoming year's financial fair play, basically year round, whatever you call it.
La Liga's cap, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So, but in order to do that, they need to sell him before July 1st. So I think it's a lot of it is Manchester United putting in that bid, saying, look, take it or leave it. You've got 7 days now to make your decision. And if Barcelona want to hold out and not meet that deadline, not accept the offer, I think United will still continue negotiating, but Barca knows that they'll be in an even more difficult position because now that money that they would have gained by just selling him to United for 5 million euros less, they can't actually apply to next year's budget. So
it's a staring competition at the moment, isn't it? So who's going to blink first?
But I mean, we've had so many of these little situations with, does Frankie want to leave? No. Yes. Now, apparently he's open to it if they can reach agreements. The CVC stuff, we were waiting on that. And now we're waiting on another deadline. I think Barca is being very stingy, and I don't think United's going to walk away. But besides that, I mean, that's where the Frankie de Jong deal is at. We're just, it's just a game of chicken. But the good news for United fans has been that we have at least started looking into other targets now.
100%, and I think this gives us an opportunity to bring in a new target. We've got a guest to bring onto the show. Is that right, Jess?
Yeah, Annie, how you doing, man?
Yo, Annie, how you doing, mate? You okay?
How is everyone doing this evening?
Really good, mate. Thanks for coming onto the show. So you come in at the right time. Just been discussing Manchester United. We've just gone over the De Jong situation, which is still trundling along. Jesse believes that the situation gets done and dusted. Are you as confident, Annie?
Well, this just gives me another Sancho vibe saga. Like, it's just really long. It's longing out now. Like, if United are really serious, they'll just pay the money and just be like, all right, next target. But they're taking their time. Like, this is the one time I actually say to United, just give Barca the 70 M's and be done with it, because it's not like anyone else is available, because so far United have been rejected left, right, and centre by everybody. So realistically, at least try to get one man in to make people see that you're somewhat serious.
That's the other thing, Andy. I kind of agree with you in the fact that I understand what United is trying to do by not being perceived as that club that will be will get shagged essentially and get stripped down and taken all their assets and money from. But I also agree with you because it's at this point it's over 5 million. It was 6 million euros technically. The Central one was not that. They were asking us to pay 108 million pounds the season before, and we ended up paying 72 million the season after. It was very different. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of money that we saved.
So with De Jong, I know we've mentioned obviously from a perception level. Why is De Jong so important then? Actually, why is he such an important signing to Manchester United? Then, do you think?
It's because the deal with Ten Hag, he likes to play with players that he's worked with before.
Yeah.
So getting De Jong would be ideal. Like, this is why I think I said it the year before. I said, if Ten Hag was to end up at United, it wouldn't shock me if he turned around and said to United, okay, Van der Beek's already here. I've got that. Go and get me De Jong and, what's his name? Centre back for Juve. De Ligt. Yeah, and then just bring them three and say, "Yep, there's my spine," kind of feel for defense to midfield.
Yeah.
So he likes using players that he knows or players that can understand the type of football he's going to play. So
Mm.
him buying De Jong is the centerpiece to what he wants. So he's either getting De Jong because he knows that he'll play for him, or that's who he's trying to build the team around. Like De Jong is going to be his enforcer, and everyone else is just going to be built around De Jong.
I agree. I was going to say, Jesse, just before you go there, mate, I've watched a couple of videos as to educate myself a little bit more on with Ten Hag, and I understand immediately that he is so important. A player like De Jong is so important to Ten Hag's system because he will be the one who can implement this situation. He needs someone to basically anchor this formation around. This is a player who is capable of playing his style of football to the highest of levels. So you need to go in at the highest point, and he is the most important piece for Ten Hag. It is interesting that they are only arguing over which is a couple of million. And I know that we're saying it's a couple of million. It isn't like the Sancho situation that Jesse mentioned, where it's nearly £30 million different. It's a case of let's just get this done, and then, as you say, De Jong's in, brilliant. Now we can start planning, for the next piece of the puzzle, because each day that passes by, potentially, unlikely, leaves the door open for somebody else. I don't think it will, but it's always there. Jesse, sorry, mate, I just jumped in there, mate.
No, that was a great point, because you just tactically, yeah, you're right. I also think it's important to realize or recognize that Ten Hag will know the state of the dressing room that Manchester United was left with last season. I think a lot of this, tactics aside, you guys are absolutely correct, but I think mentality-wise, what he expects of his players in the dressing room, it's a lot about that as well. The mentality and the devotion to your game and improving in a certain way is also why he, even more so than he normally does, is looking for certain types of players that he's going to be able to work with. He needs to have 3 or 4 players coming in who understand what he wants, so that when the first little signs of anarchy show up, he already has a core of 3 or 4 players that can kind of are already working hard for him. So there's no question who the boss is.
Yeah.
You were saying something so good. With the Frankie de Jong thing, I'm not really afraid of someone coming in for Frankie de Jong. At this point, I'm way more afraid of people going in for other players, other targets that we want, namely your Martinez's, your Antonys, your Timbers, which as of today, obviously Mike Viraj or Virai or whatever, the tier 1 out of Ajax, basically said, well, now, you took too long. And I totally understand it. If this is true, and I'm sure it is because of who reported it, the fact is you spent so long going after one target. You think it's okay to put someone else off and then just come in a month later, right before preseason starts, then come in and say, oh, by the way, we want 2 of your players? Absolutely not. I completely understand going, well, you can do one because we're about to start preseason and we have a new manager. So you can't just come in and take our best players right now. So, yeah.
I think that's an interesting point because, it brings us on actually to Jurrien Timber. A day or 2 ago, it was reported, as you say, by this chap and I believe by another another kind of tier 1 reporter out of Holland, and I won't try and pronounce his surname incorrectly. But
I'll do that.
We all know who the guy is, and ultimately his words were, "Jurrien Timber is dead in the water." He was as clear as that. He stuck his entire reputation on this deal being dead, done, finished. Not because of Manchester United per se or Ajax, but more so on what Louis van Gaal has had to say, which is, if you don't play, you ain't going to the World Cup. In a nutshell, he said he couldn't guarantee it, but he's basically saying, if you aren't playing first team football week in, week out, you're not going to be in this team. And some people might say that Van Gaal has a axe to grind with United, which he does. We know this. However, he is holding the same energy with other players. Jorginho Wijnaldum has been dropped because of what he's decided to do going to PSG. So this energy is correct. and he's only holding that same level of point towards it. So, Annie, what do you think of that deal? Do you think that this could have been dealt with quicker if United had sort of got that deal done before this situation had happened? What do you reckon?
I don't think it would have mattered because it wouldn't have mattered because look at that defense of United. The only way Jurriën Timber is going to start for Man United is if they get rid of Maguire.
Okay.
They're not getting rid of Maguire, and everyone knows that Maguire's not getting got. Like, he may not be the captain, but that's their £85 million investment. Like, they're not going to just get rid of that guy. If they're going to take a hit, they're going to want to recoup at least 60 million.
You could do a Chelsea and just loan him to Leicester for £8 million.
Leicester wouldn't even take him. Like, come on. Leicester wouldn't take him. No one would take him. My problem is, because people assume they've taken too long to do this, my thinking is it's just because Maguire's there. If Maguire wasn't there, Timber would be a United player right now. But in the same hand, United don't want to show everyone their cards. They want to keep some of their aces until they're ready to throw them out. But you would have thought this deal would have been done a while back, but because he was ready to join. He's ready to join. Everyone in Holland said he's ready to leave and ready to join. The problem is, like Louis van Gaal said, I stand with Louis van Gaal because he has the same energy, like you said, for Wijnaldum. He had the same energy for Memphis, because if Barcelona buy Lewandowski, Memphis is the number 2. He's not going to start ahead of Lewandowski. He even tried to push what's his name, Bergwijn from Spurs to go back to Leicester to Ajax to play.
He's spoken to him, hasn't he? He's been quite open and said he needs to do something for his career, his international career, and move.
Exactly. So no one can say Louis van Gaal has his energies to want United. That's fine, because I don't blame him. United treated a lot of managers like shit, so it's fine. The problem is, people can't go around saying, "Oh, he's just doing it because it's Timber and it's United." No, all the players that play for the Netherlands all know what Louis van Gaal is on. Look at how they play. This is a manager that left for United in 2014-15. Netherlands hadn't qualified for any tournament in that point. He comes back and they're ready in the World Cup again.
And it's really important, isn't it, to these Dutch players now? Because I think they're realising that it's quite humbling. Do you not think, like, for me and you growing up, like, I'm 31, I know you're in your mid-20s, but for me, I've always grown up. I've always grown up watching the Netherlands being at every World Cup and every Euros. You know, that they were like solid, like they will be there, like Italy, like Germany, like France, you know, like Spain, like Portugal. There will always be teams which will be guaranteed. And then it was like, oh, hang on, they're not there. Well, how's this happened? And it goes through those sort of generational situations, doesn't it? I mean, Italy's come across one now. I mean, could you imagine Italy got 2 World Cups?
My God, could you imagine?
2 World Cups, Italy, Euro winners.
I've got my Sicilian friends already going, oh my God, they're rubbing their head like, how the hell are we going to get out of this? Like, you're going to have to wait 4 more years to try and get to another World Cup. So you just have to sit and hope that you guys breed a whole set of... You don't want to end up like Belgium. Golden generation, and then boom, everyone's gone.
And you're right. And I think that this season, I think that maybe some people aren't realising this so much, because we're playing a Winter World Cup as opposed to a Summer World Cup. Because right now, if it wasn't in Qatar, we'd all be watching the World Cup right now. So you can thank FIFA for that. The situation that we have now is that this transfer window is being directly influenced by the World Cup, which we've never had before. Because all these signings would all be like, oh yeah, so and so is having a great World Cup, I'm interested in that player, you know, and we'd all be getting that hype that, you know, comes from these big tournaments when it comes to transfers. However, this time it's the opposite way around, where actually players have now got the power to say, actually, I've got a World Cup coming up. when it comes to making my transfer, I need to make sure I'm in the right team to give me my best possible chance, which moves us on to one of our sort of more kind of it's in the tagline, but it's being reported that Christian Eriksen rejected Manchester United's deal, which has been reported sort of one way and another, so it's still up in the air. He hasn't come out officially and made any agreements yet, but Christian Eriksen has also got his eyes on a World Cup too, with Denmark, his last World Cup. So do you think if he has rejected United, do you think that could play a sort of effect on it? You know, because he'd be worried about game time.
He probably is worried about game time because the position that I would like him to play is currently being occupied by one Portuguese guy who I shall not name, because if I do, Jesse might have a aneurysm about him. The only other way is to play him in the centre mid like he was playing for Brentford. But if he rejects United, he either will stay at Brentford, or if Spurs come back for him, then maybe he'll go to Spurs. But it seems like Conte's not really set on getting Eriksen into his team, so it might just have to be staying at Brentford, where he kept them up. He came in, kept them up. They gave him a chance. Why not? Why not just stay at Brentford? You can still stay in London. You won't have to move your family out of London at all. Your children can still stay in the school. You ain't gonna have to go up to Manchester, so why not? And it's World Cup, yeah. Like, could you imagine what you play so well? You're in the World Cup. January transfer window comes around. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Wait, actually, is there going to be a transfer window while the World Cup is going on? Because that is interesting.
No, because the World Cup will be over just before that.
Just before.
So
we're about the 18th.
Well, the World Cup finishes a week or so just before Christmas, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
before Christmas.
Exactly. Things like the 18th, 19th, something like that of December.
I'm going to be watching the World Cup on my birthday. Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine England? If England was to go out, that would best birthday present ever. Like, oh my, I'm joking.
So there's no one to celebrate with you because everyone's so down in the dumps that no one wants to celebrate.
No one wants to party. But back in January, transfer window remains open as it would normally. But as you say, that window might be really interesting based on the fact is that we will have all that hype, you know, from a World Cup potentially transferred to a January transfer window. So
I think there are a lot of mistakes that are going to be made during this transfer window. There's going to be a lot of James Rodriguez's going for 60 million.
Milan Barros
going for 60 million pounds on 300K a week, where they
El Hadj Diouf
will never get more than five assists in a season. Because we always do this, and I was trying to think about this while you guys were saying that. Well, how does it affect the summer? Because typically what happens is you have the World Cup. You either have to get a player before the World Cup or after the World Cup. So the actual transfer season is shortened for the top players because they're all playing at the World Cup, which will be the same for this one, except for it's going on during fall or really beginning of winter. And I was thinking, so what's the advantage? There's no advantage because we already have a shorter summer because of the World Cup. But then it's also just all broken up and players don't want to move because it's during the season. This is the worst place World Cup of all time. 110%. It just messes up the entire schedule.
Oh yeah, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. It's wrong. I mean, Eric Canstone's comments were totally correct. It's not a proper World Cup, and I agree. It's not great for football, and hopefully this is the last time that they go into doing something like this, and we go back to having proper, football in nations to develop football, and this isn't just an opportunity for.
You would be surprised, Dan.
Money. Yeah, I mean, I think we've been there. We've seen it. We've seen Russia. We've seen Qatar. We've seen all the backhand deals that have been involved in both of those. Both of those ones there.
But
the
as long as money's involved.
The next one is in the good old US of A.
We're going over. Jesse, we're going over.
For 1994, when they had the last World Cup, I mean, much has changed. Football is a much bigger sport now in America, much more developed, much more professionalized, much more sort of taken more seriously, especially by the American public, by American government, sporting authorities, and stuff like that. It's really has come along, and I, for one, am really, really looking forward to it. I think it'd be a really interesting World Cup, and I'm all for nations. And it isn't just in America, by the way, shall I say? It's also in Canada. It's also in Mexico.
North America, yeah.
North America, specific.
But when we say this, it is predominantly the United States. So it's going to be a brilliant opportunity. I think it's a place that is more than well equipped for doing events like this, and this is where we need to be doing this. The World Cup in South Africa was dreadful. It was an awful World Cup. The whole situation was terrible. The Russia World Cup was, I mean, let's see it for what it is now. We know why it happened there. Sports watching at its best, and so is Qatar. It's exactly what they are. They're sports watching. It's the way of saying, oh, look at us. We're an affiliate nation. Look at us. We're brilliant. Look, let's just use sport as a vehicle to move us forward with that. So we'll put that to one side and go on to, I think United's been covered. There's not too much kind of going on there now, really. Anthony's been linked. I'm not sure that's who you're going to go on with there with Jesse. Anthony's been linked. However, the price tag apparently being set is somewhere around 80 million euros. That's a crazy, crazy price.
I think all those, just to cover this real quick. I think all of those Ajax players, I wouldn't be surprised if United still got one this summer.
Yeah.
But I would also not be surprised if we go for obviously just the one, which I would have assumed anyways. Like, why would they sell two? They've already sold half their first team. And we're gonna pay a lot for whoever we go for. I don't want Martinez. He's a very good player, but we don't need defenders as much as we need other positions. Honestly, I see us going for one, getting one, paying way over the odds somewhere in mid-July, and that being that. I was just going to also add on to the Eriksen thing just to kind of, because Dan, you were talking about the Eriksen thing. Those reports, Alistair Gold basically came out saying he's willing to move out of London. And for anyone who doesn't know, Alistair Gold is Levy's mouthpiece.
Tier one Spurs. That is the guy.
Yeah, he's literally anything he says is gospel. He's Fabrizio Romano. He's David Ornstein levels when it comes to Tottenham. And then all the other subsequent reports that came out yesterday or the day before, depending on where you live in the world, it was just everything. It was just every angle you could possibly put out about Eriksen. The only thing that we know for certain is it will be decided when he comes back from vacation. Thomas Frank said the same.
Yeah.
Said everyone's respecting his vacation. No one knows anything until he comes back from his vacation. So I think anyone who's hoping for Eriksen, I'm not completely sold on it. And he's already said, well, we already have players in that position. But anyone who is interested in it just needs to understand no one's going to know anything until he comes back. So I just wanted to add that in. So I wouldn't listen to any reports at this point. It makes no sense to do so. That's just my
I disagree with you with the defender part because I still think we need some defenders.
Oh, we definitely
not ahead of the priority of a midfield and DMs. I'm still think fullbacks and defenders because I look at the state of our defense. Let's break it down. We have
just one sec, just to clarify before you go break it down. I don't mean we don't need defenders. I mean we already have players there where we have other positions where we literally don't have anyone. That's what I meant. We clearly need better defenders. We clearly need better players in defense. Okay. But go ahead, sorry.
So Luke Shaw, who, if I remember, where was I reading this stat? In the 7 or 8 years he's been at United, he has 14 assists. Wan-Bissaka has 15. How does that make sense? I've
already said. I said this
like Wan-Bissaka can't cross the ball.
I've said this to people about Wan-Bissaka when they were saying he can't attack. First off, he can't. He's not good on the ball. He's not press resistant. But I watched him last season get like 7 assists, and people were like, Wan-Bissaka can't attack. And I was like, well, for all you statistics merchants out there,
he literally can. He just did.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. To be fair, because he was one of the highest assisters in English football last season. I
don't get it. And then you have obviously Wan-Bissaka and Dalot. It looks like Ten Hag is trying to put a bit of faith in Dalot, so maybe that will breed some confidence in him to play. Because there were some performances from Dalot last season that were actually good, and there was others where moments he
He
switched
looked
off.
good.
He looked good,
But
like,
it
and then
was
moments he switched off.
Yeah, he's
Um,
not United level. He's a good right back. He deserves to play in a top 5 league. If we start in a top 5 league for a good team, but he's not.
He's not a United level, and
he's
then
not
you've
levels,
got the centre backs like Phil Jones. Like Phil Jones is still at our club. Phil Jones, Harry Maguire, Bailly, Varane, Lindelof. Like half of those start for their national team, but some of them are just not up to par with what we need as a centre back pairing. Like,
Well, there's a lot to build there, isn't there? There's a lot to build, and unfortunately, it can't all be done in one transfer window. It's not the Roman Abramovich years, circa 2004, when they can just buy you whoever you like. It's a case of you're going to have to purchase one or two priority players. Ultimately, one of the priorities was to bring in a forward player. Darwin Nunez situation didn't happen. Okay, you move on to your next one, which was looking likely to be De Jong. More than likely that's going to be the case. I think that was kind of parallel, shall we say, anyway. I think they were both as important. But then also to then look at players like Yuri and Timber to bring in a new centre-back, defensive option, and going forward from there. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see is that, which deals get done at Manchester United, how long they're going to take. There's still a long time between now and the end of the transfer window. But you would like to think that maybe some of these deals will start to kind of get ticked off just to appease the fans a little bit and just kind of, okay, yeah, things are happening. Because at the moment, like Annie says, it just looks like you're being rejected constantly. And it's not a good look, especially when you're Manchester United. It's not a good kind of to be in that
got
boat.
rejected today by some youngster from from Derby. Oh, I don't get it.
That's horseshit.
No, but Jesse, I'm not upset. I'm not upset.
Okay,
I'm just saying
good,
I'm reading into it. Like some people, like I was in like other GC Discord earlier. Some people just like to lose their mind, and I'm just like, guys, this guy's a youngster. They're probably trying to throw him like the under 21s, and he wants to play first team football because he's playing at Derby.
You ain't gonna get him, are you?
This is literally this is exactly what I said. Twisted. If you're watching, I don't know who's watching right now, but I know there are a couple people watching. Dude, when people say, "Oh well," like Palace beat United to the signature, it was like when I saw that whole thing, it was literally he was I knew for a fact he was 10th on that list. Exactly what you said. He was just going to be another Diallo or Palestri, come in straight into the under 21s. Yeah. Might train with the team sometimes, never going to play for us. Watched by compilations for whatever people think, like watching compilations isn't useful. Sometimes it is. Would never judge a player overall by it, but I watched 2 minutes of compilation and I said, why in the world would we buy this kid? It makes no sense on any level to buy him. He's quick. He's a little tricky. He likes to kick and run. We'll never play in a 10 hog system. I know we were looking at him, but for the life of me, I don't understand why. I've said this for time too. This isn't like a new thing for me. Like I just didn't get it.
100%.
It just doesn't make sense for us to now go and buy him anyway because
I mean, as you say, it doesn't make sense. It was probably somebody you were trying your hand with. The scouting department were interested in this player. They looked at him, and as Jesse's rightly said, if another club in the Premier League is offering first team football, you go in there. It's as simple as that. Exactly. You're 20 years of age. You're going to take it, aren't you? You really are going to take that off and move with it. So, not a lot to report on Spurs. Interested in Jesus, apparently. They seem to have done their business pretty much like City and Liverpool as it stands, kind of got things done and dusted for now. I think more will come from Tottenham. They still need some more bodies coming into that team, but not much to report going into the club at the moment or going out at Tottenham. But next week, we'll obviously give the update on what's going on there. And then moving on, finally, to my club, Liverpool. And we have wrapped up what is apparently our final signing in the last week, which was mentioned last week, Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen. All of our business has been concluded, according to Paul Joyce now, which is exactly what you would say if you are actually looking at signing a player, was I get my tinfoil hat and stick it on
Oh God,
and say
Jesus
that there is
Christ.
potential. I still think
He's got the delusion hat on. Oh no.
I think Liverpool will still sign someone between now and the end of the transfer window.
You guys definitely want some back up in midfield. Sorry.
Yeah, I think if the right deal comes along, Liverpool will take that opportunity. I think that as it stands now, their main targets, like people who they wanted to, actively go and attack and approach and get hold of, have been bought. Calvin Ramsey from Aberdeen, fantastic signing, 19 years of age, plays right back. He was fantastic for Aberdeen last season. 4 goals, 9 assists, created the most chances out of any teenager in all of Europe. Take that with as what you will. He's clearly got something about him. He's another Scottish lad, homegrown player. Him and Andy Robertson can talk about good old Scotland as much as they like together, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm really pleased. I'm really pleased so far with the business Liverpool have done. All the players are under the age of 22, building for the future and for the now. Fabio Carvalho, I think, will be fighting for a first-team place coming this season. I think Calvin Ramsey will be more than likely looking to try and keep himself on that bench and be that right back cover option for Trent Alexander-Arnold, which is what he is. Nico Williams is looking to be leaving the club around about £20 million. Southampton are interested, Fulham are interested, a couple of Premier League clubs are interested, and I think Liverpool probably get around 15-16 million for him, to be honest, maybe with some add-ons and whatnot. But talking about 2 players who have left the club at Liverpool, I'll do the first one. Takumi Minamino has gone. I predicted this.
Called this. He called this in beginning of the season, and halfway he said, "Watch, Firmino's gonna leave," and I was like, "Are you sure?" He said, "Definitely. Just wait. Look, he's left."
Takumi Minamino, the day that Takumi Minamino signed, I told these boys when I first got chatting with them, was a Moneyball purchase. He always was. From the minute Liverpool, I knew he was. We bought him randomly in January after he played us. He was £7 million. He's had some great performances. He was the top scorer in the League Cup, scored some really important goals. Scored an important goal against Southampton, keepers in the title race last season, was top scorer in the FA Cup. I want to say thank you very much to Takumi Minamino for doing what you have done. I think you've been a brilliant player for Liverpool, and you do deserve to go to another club. And he's going to AS Monaco, a €17 million deal. Right now, it's really kind of frustrating me that all deals seem to be done in euros now, and I'm having to calculate them. I wish we just stick them in pounds. But when I grew up, everything was in pounds. Like, there was no he's gone for €44 million, and I've got to sit there and get my exchange rate calculator out and work out.
I know, but the world is changing. Like, euros may be stronger than pound at some point.
It's also all the talent this summer is in Europe. No one can afford Prem players. It just doesn't notice how no one's moved Prem to Prem. And what was the guy? What was the guy from? The guy from. Oh, I can't. It was from Roma or someone, and they were talking about. Someone was bumping up. Tavares for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they were like, one of the CEOs was talking about him from Italy, and he's like, we've been looking at the player for a long time. We think he's a strong player or whatever. Again, but then he's like, but you just you can't take players from the Prem anymore. So like everything's going the other way now. Everything's going Europe, but EU to England.
But that would make sense. I predicted this guy the day that we signed him that he was ultimately going to remain at the club for maybe 2-3 seasons. He was going to build our brand in Japan, which he did. For those of you out there who don't believe me, the same day that Liverpool signed Takumi Minamino, we also launched a Hello Kitty range of Liverpool football memorabilia. So if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what will. That's that for you. We bought him for £7 million. We sold him for 12.8 million with a couple of million in add-ons. I think we've got a great deal. He's going to AS Monaco. I think he's going to have a great career there. I think he's going to, he's going to play well. He'll probably get first-team football at Monaco, and I wish him all the best.
When I saw that, Dan, I thought it was Leon. First of all, I didn't have my glasses on when I saw it, so I thought it was Leon. But then I would have been like, oh, man, if he had gone to Leon, he would be there with, like, Lacazette and Ndombele, like,
That's it.
Like
Getting
in
getting
double
the Premier
belly,
League gang back together.
like literally.
This is it. But yeah, so now is the opportunity for me to have my emotional moment.
We stand with Mane.
I have had to say Auf Wiedersehen to Mane. 6 years loyal servant, officially today signed for Bayern Munchen.
He didn't complain. He just played his football.
Played his football, brilliant player, fantastic role model. You know, he's just an exceptional player. He's left exactly the way that you would want. And I've always said this, and I think this is really important, which maybe some fans don't understand this, but to be a legend at my club, at Liverpool, you need to leave in the right way. You need to leave the club in the right way. We have no problem with players moving on to bigger and better things. Players like Luis Suarez moved on to bigger and better things, but the way he left leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. The way that, you know, he forced that move by going and doing what he's done with the biting and all that kind of jazz. The deal had to be done, and the price was right. But then looking at players like Coutinho, who left and he had a bad back, I can't play a bad back, and then forced his move. Ultimately, it was the best thing that ever happened to us, and we made up that it happened. But Mane has allowed Liverpool to, firstly, collect a fee bigger than we actually bought him for. We've been able to reinvest that money rather than him running down his contract. He didn't announce he wanted to leave until after all the football had finished. He did it in the right way. He didn't go into the media, didn't do anything like that. He just said, right, this is what I want to go. And all the situation was dealt with Liverpool and Bayern, and I just wish him all the best. Question, and only from a side of it, I think for him on a personal level, me and Jesse just off air have talked about this. On a personal level, this is great for Mane. He's taking a big payday. He's going to probably win 3 titles in Germany. He's probably going to maybe win a couple more cups in the Pokal or the cups, the DBF, whatever they have over there. And they're going to go deep into the Champions League for the next 3 years. The only side of it, which is he has gone from a club, he's gone from a league which is better, a stronger league in the Premier League, to go to Bayern. And he's gone from Liverpool to Bayern, which, as it stands right now, are not quite as strong of a team as Liverpool are. So this is more, for me, this is a personal choice. Rather than challenging himself as a player, I think he's seeing that this is his opportunity to get the right money, get some more trophies in the cabinet, and, kind of, see off the very last contract of his career, in a winning way. I don't know what you boys think of that.
Well, let me just hop in. Let me just put in my thoughts, because like Dan just said, we kind of spoke about this off air, and I see where Dan's coming from, and we agree on all the sentiment on a human level. The whole idea kind of going from Salzburg. Initially, I thought it was Leipzig. I don't know why, but Salzburg coming over here, doing what he wanted. I imagine when he was at Salzburg, there was always that line in his head that he could see Bayern Munich in the future. Ended up being Liverpool and ended up doing amazing things and becoming a legend of Liverpool Football Club, which once you're a legend of Liverpool, you're always going to get that love from the fans there. They're so passionate. So he did everything right in that way. I think by fetching a fee, going to Bayern Munich, like I said, going from Salzburg to RB Leipzig to Bayern was probably in his mind at one point or another. He gets the payday, he wins some more trophies, and he probably wins a competition that he always envisioned himself winning. I don't view it, and I don't think Dan specifically thinks it's unambitious, but I just want to make it very clear. It's not the same. It's not the same way I viewed Son staying at Tottenham, becoming the main man. I think it really is. I just don't think it should be viewed as unambitious. I think it's just taking on a new challenge.
No, certainly not unambitious. I mean, this isn't saying, he's going to go and join, trying to think of a league, which is, the PSG, for example. I was trying not to use the PSG situation so much. I was trying not to use it so much because I was trying to think of perhaps another league, where he could have gone to. But
a top 5 league at least.
A PSG sort of situation where ultimately the football isn't going to be competitive. He's going to go there. He's going to win the French league. He's probably going to win the French Cup 3 times. But then ultimately, maybe challenge for the Champions League, but who knows?
Yeah.
It is also Bayern Munich are, let's not forget, I think Liverpool have just bumped themselves back up to this level. But for the longest time, it was Real Madrid, Barcelona, Manchester United, and Bayern Munich. He's still in that top 5, along with Liverpool. Like he's there. He's still in that bracket of one of the biggest clubs in the world. So,
100%. Yeah, he's in the right place. He's just on that side of it where he's, it's the right move for him personally as a player. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's an interesting one for me. I'm glad that he's moved to another league as well. But that is something which for me is also important. I never like transferring players within the Premier League.
Let's let Dan finish because he's
So with that, with the two there, I'm pleased. The fact that he's not stayed within the Premier League as well, which opens us up potentially the conversation for the next couple of months, which will be Mo Salah. I have a theory. I could be wrong, so clip me if you want. I have a theory that Liverpool will announce him like a signing. I actually think that there's a good chance that deal gets done because Mane's gone. And they'll announce it in the next month, perhaps. And it'll be like a signing within transfer. It's a very Liverpool thing to do, to sign contracts and announce them like signings. And if he doesn't, I don't think he's staying. It's as simple as that.
Damn.
If that contract is not signed before January, he's definitely gone.
Yeah.
If the winter transfer window opens up, he is free to sign. He's going to get some offers, especially if he performs for the first few months. That Liverpool will just go, well, we're just not going to offer you that.
Yeah.
So you can go to Madrid on $500K a week.
But if that's the case, if he gets offered like that, then we can't. Well, we've had this conversation before. As I say, before we wrap up, we've had this conversation before, and we've talked about what clubs are actually available when it comes to Mo Salah and the wages that he's demanding. There's a belief it's around $400,000 a week. So we'll work on that basis. So PSG can afford it. Manchester City can afford it. Barcelona used to be able to afford it. And Real Madrid could afford it. And that is about it.
Yeah, he's not going to City. So
he's not going.
He
to
won't
United,
go to City because
he
won't go to City because he won't need him.
Yeah, and he's not obviously going to United for like 4 or 5 reasons. So I just left us out. I skipped.
He won't go to. Well, as I said, I left you out of it just because his words, and I'll use his words, is that he's going. He wants to. What's important is winning the Champions League. Well, in the next 3 years, Manchester United probably aren't going to win the Champions League.
Nope.
That's just, let's get it straight, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? There's a road to go down. There's a journey at United that needs to happen. And I think that isn't likely. I think he would go somewhere where he could. Real Madrid makes sense. It does.
It does.
It does.
It does, depending on what they do. They don't really have a whole lot on that side, and they're not going to get a whole lot on that side this summer. Also, PSG is struggling to get a player in on that side. Di Maria left. Dembele doesn't look like he's going to go there. It looks like he'll stay at Barca after all. That's kind of just the rumors today.
Zidane's not turning up. I mean,
Zidane's not turning up. Actually, they just finalized that before we hopped on, or maybe an hour before. They got the guy from Marseille or whatever it was. I can't remember.
Gautier,
yeah. So I mean that's that. Yeah, so he's got 2 options next summer, but only 2. If he doesn't stay at Liverpool, he's only got 2 options really.
And I take the guy on his word. I take his honesty. He's an honest enough fellow. He's never lied to what he said. He says he wants to stay. He says he wants to break records at Liverpool. He wants to do all these kind of things. He wants to be a Liverpool legend. And I can say that if he does, Salah will be remembered equally up there with players like Kenny Dalglish. It's as simple as that. He'll be up there with Steven Gerrard. It'll be right up there, the very, very top echelon of player. And this is where it's important in the way that this happens. That he clearly doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to either leave, unless, of course, something else comes along. I think Liverpool are going to announce him like a transfer. I think the contract will be done. I'm holding that energy as it stands now. If it doesn't, If it doesn't happen, this will hark a full change in the way that Liverpool attack teams and the way that they play. Our formation will change completely. We will no longer play 4-3-3, in my opinion. I think Liverpool will play a much different formation because we won't have the players to play that way, because there isn't another Mo Salah out there that's really available who can do what he can do, unless you go looking at a player like Bukayo Saka, which makes no sense because he is going to cost a fortune.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, no, he's. Arsenal better get this right. Arsenal better get this right. I'm telling you, because if they don't, they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose Saka because Saka will run down his contract. They already had a hard time signing on to this last one.
Yeah.
If they go backwards from here, then it's going to be clear as day. What does he have? I know they're in negotiations right now. So if he doesn't sign this contract, is what I was going to say, Annie. Then if he goes into this next summer without signing a new contract, they're in deep doo-doo. Deep doo-doo.
My issue with Arsenal, it's all nice buying all these players, but it gives me that whole, that season where Spurs sold Bale and they just bought all those players. Who's to say this doesn't go south? You're trying to buy Rafinha, the position that Saka plays in. So are you going to move Saka to the left? Is that what you're telling me? Martinelli's not going to start. So what's going on with Arsenal's front line?
Me and Jesse actually we had this discussion last week about Rafinha. He made real good sense to actually come in. He's actually a very smart buy, Rafinha, because it actually gives two options for Arsenal. Firstly, it gives Saka a rest. It means you don't have to play him 60 games a season, across all competitions. But also, it gives them cover if Saka does leave. It actually gives them an option to say, well, if he leaves, we no longer lose him, firstly, for nothing. So we then have to replace him completely with total money. But we also now have a player who's capable of playing in the Premier League and who's able to give us some good output. And for what Saka has delivered this season, I'm not saying that he hasn't been brilliant. He has. He's been a great player. But you can replicate Saka with somebody else. He has not put numbers up there which are breaking records.
No, getting Rafinha future-proofs aside. And I think you get more out of Rafinha than you do out of Saka. Not on like an overall level. I think Saka is a workhorse and very good at what he does. Very much a hybrid player. But at the end of the day, I think that you get more out of Rafinha, and I think he's very, very good competition for Saka. And I agree with people like Jess, ironically, not myself, but Jess on the Terrace, where it is, if he can't handle the pressure of having someone push him, then bend him. You don't need him. You need players who can stand up to the competition. Anthony, our guy, is this Rafinha to Chelsea rumor true? I would dig you out on that and say, hey, you're the Chelsea fan.
I was going to say I've read up on this one.
I haven't got a chance to, Anthony. We love you.
Yeah, no, thankfully I've read it. Fabrizio Romano has mentioned, I'm going to use him as I always do because ultimately it's come from him. 99.9% it's true. Tad Bowley has contacted directly with Rafinha's agent, which is Deco. However, the price tag set by Leeds, and Leeds have told everybody, is £65 million.
Can you imagine?
That's the price.
£65 million.
And they're absolutely right to do this because this is Leeds' prize asset. Other than Calvin Phillips, who unfortunately this season has had his injuries, he is their prize asset. He is the one which is their money bank. That if you think about £65 million to Rafinha, is he worth it?
Potentially.
Probably. I mean, in today's money, he probably is. Especially if you're desperate. If you're desperate to bring in a player who's Premier League proven, who can do what this guy can do. I'm not fully convinced on him, to be honest. Liverpool were linked quite heavily with Rafinha a number of times. He doesn't really do it for me. I think he's good, but I'm not ultimately convinced. So I don't feel there's many other options available. So 65 million is the price tag. Barcelona has been told this. Chelsea, Tottenham, and Arsenal have all been told exactly the same thing according to Fabrizio Romano. £65 million is the asking price. And they know this because they can see that there's 4 clubs all interested in him. So they're doing good business at the moment for Leeds. They really are doing good business. There's no other player in the team that's worth more than that. No, you're right. The only other player who was close was Calvin Phillips, but because he's had a season injured, his price tag's lower. Because who's to say next season he's not as injured?
Yeah, and let's just be clear. Rafinha is worth that much because the market is as skint as it is. And to be fair, Barcelona's backed away from that price tag. Arsenal aren't going to pay or be able to pay it. Chelsea will probably be able to pay it, but do you guys really want to pay £65 million for Rafinha? I don't know. I think you guys can do a lot more in the market when you guys really need defenders. We kind of talked about
some defenders.
Literally, but it is kind of going that way, Anthony. Where I think you guys can do a lot better with £65 million than getting Rafinha. I like Rafinha, but I do kind of view him as like Ziyech, who's more of a dog, more of a.
I was actually going to say, he gives me Ziyech vibes. Yeah, like genuinely, he gives me Ziyech vibes. And it's a big old step up, isn't it, from Leeds to go to a club like Chelsea, where you can be the big fish in the small pond. He's now going to be a small fish in a big pond.
Here's another one I just figured out. If Rafinha is if he was to go to Arsenal, what about Nicolas Pepe? You know, the £72 million player that they bought.
Nicolas Pepe still forgotten about. The man sitting on the bench constantly last season. He ain't got no chance.
Pepe to Chelsea, right? I think Anthony would agree with me on that.
Ousmane Dembele on the left-hand side, Dembele on the right.
Oh, my Lord.
Make it happen.
Arsenal pick up Rafinha for £60 million, and you guys get Pepe for, let's just say, 70. Perfect. No. Great transfer. Top bully. Era initiated.
Oh God, Americans.
This is a takeover sporting director.
Hey, what are you making about Americans, dog?
That's it. He's sporting director. He's going to be sitting at. He's going to be giving it his Christine Bale out of American Psycho.
Here's a question for you two. So something that I saw today. Is Sadio Armani considered one of the top 5 Africans in the Premier League? In the history of the Premier League? I think he is.
Top what? Top how many?
Top 5.
He's won everything.
Yeah, I mean...
So he's amongst like Yaya and Eto'o.
You've got Drogba.
Yaya.
Eto'o.
No, not Eto'o.
I'm saying I don't think he is. No, I think he's. Let's forget Barca. Shelf Barca for now.
Yeah.
Because you have to be what you did in the Prem. Forget, other places.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Eto'o at all was top 5. What he did in the Prem was insubstantial. Essien, I'll agree with that. Makelele,
probably.
Makelele is French.
He is. Okay, he is French. Dude. That if you take France's squad and then take it and go back to like the ancestry of those players, you would have seen like Senegal win like 4 World Cups. Ghana,
Guinea,
Algeria,
Guinea,
you gotta understand
Mali. Oh God.
So but I think we said Toure, Drogba, Essien. I don't put Eto'o at all.
Uncle Yaya.
I mean, if any player wins everything, wins a Premier League, wins a Champions League, scores as many joins the 100 club, puts over 150 GA over 200 odd games. You've got to be, haven't you? You have to be. You equally, has he scored more goals than? Has he scored more goals than Drogba?
I need to fact.
I think it's close.
I need to check that. I need to get back to you on that.
I think it's close because I think he scored 124 or 126.
Do you know what made me laugh about that comment that I saw? Someone said, and I quote, someone said, well, I'm putting it in my terms, that the Gabonese Robert Earnshaw was more influential and should be in there as well. Just saying.
We're not going to put Aubameyang in the top 5.
No, we're not putting Gabonese Shaw into there. No.
Gabonese Shaw in. No.
No.
Mane, like this is the thing. Like this is the one. Is like if you've won the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Club World Cup, and the Super Cup. Okay, I mean the guys joined the 100 Club in the Premier League. If we just look at the Premier League, can you name a player as consistent and as as Sadio Mane? Always available, never injured. Scored some absolute brilliant goals.
Sadio's got like a goal or assist all-time Prem, but that wasn't all at Liverpool, keep in mind. That was also at Southampton. Mane has Drogba. Drogba has 104 goals and 55 assists in 254 appearances. Mane has 111 goals and 38 assists in 263. So Mane's stats are less, I would say, on average than Drogba's, but keep in mind Drogba was in that team his entire career.
That Chelsea team.
Yeah. So
and Mane still holds the record for the fastest hat-trick in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean Mane's an incredible player, and I think that ultimately he is in the top 5 African players. Mo Salah is number 1, just based on level on as a player.
I like to wait until they leave. I like to wait until
I think
he will go down. Yeah, he will go down.
I think you agree. But just look at level. Let's forget team, like you say, because I think that's something that needs to be put down there. We remember how many trophies certain players have won at Real Madrid. Wouldn't lace the boots of numerous players, but have got more trophies than them. It's about individual per player and how important they are to said team. And for me, Mo Salah is already going to be there. If he stays on for another year, another 3 years on a contract, say for example, and carries on his numbers, he'll probably never be beaten, ever. As an African player, it'll be done, finished. Just sat there as 40, 50 year kind of record. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Mane definitely top 5 for me. Incredible player, and I'm very sad to see him go. It's going to be a sad day on the first game of the Premier League against Fulham. And there's no Mane there. I've been used to seeing it for 6 years, so I wish him all the best and all the luck. But with that, boys, I'm going to end up. We've been on for an hour and a half. I've really, really enjoyed the show this evening. Thank you all very much for joining. So from Talk Football, it's going to be a good night. We'll catch you on Friday. Going to have another show. We're going to kind of think of what's going to go on. We're going to put something together for you on Friday, 9:30 UK time. If you can join us, we'd really appreciate it. But until then, thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you all later. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Auf Wiedersehen.
See you now.
See ya.